and I knew it when I did it. And it's like the open was going, and I'm like, wait a second. I know that I've got to do something, and I didn't do it in time. And so welcome once again to another Monday where I forget to pull banners and hide things before the show actually kicks in. So Jarrett there, John here, and it's another week of soccer down here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Busy weekend across the board. And we've got MLS playoffs to talk about, both in the present and the past tense. So before Jarrett leaves us at 10 o'clock, we will have a Monday whip around, patent pending trademark coming, because we have 2 matches tonight, and one of them in a venue change still. Jarrett, are we still sure that the match tonight's going to be at Citi Field? Do we know this?
I think so. Clown shoes pending. Yes. Hopefully they just get over themselves. But yeah, it's supposed to take place at Citi Field, and changing venues at the last minute, like it's not the top flight league in the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and move something 30 miles to the west and have.
Well, people can't go to New Jersey.
Yeah, that's been outlawed, I believe. Yes.
Yeah. Well. People, as Nick pointed out, it's like, well, people can't get on that train. They get upset when they have to get on the other train. So,
yes,
whatever.
Yes. So we've got MLS to talk about in the present and the past tense. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Premier League had a game where Liverpool and Manchester City went at each other, and it was everything lived up to the billing. And Liverpool came out on top on that one, and I guess Liverpool is back, so we'll get into that discussion. NWSL had playoffs. We had an El Clasico. So it being Monday, it is whatever is on your mind on a Monday. And so Jarrett's here for the next 50 minutes or so, and he'll discuss anything that's on his mind. And in the interest of that, it's time for our opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code mashing right in the middle of the screen for those of you watching on Twitch that don't want to see the middle of the screen where Jarrett and I would be normally, taking up the middle section of a 2-shot. So that's your QR code. Once again, Kickoff Coffee Co, kickoffcoffeeco.com. You can follow Kickoff Coffee on social media at Kickoff Coffee Co on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Reminder that when you do that and you use the code SoccerDownHere15, you get 15% off of your purchase when it comes to everything Kickoff Coffee, and then they in turn take 10% and reinvest it into the youth game. So that is your assignment should you wish to partake of Kickoff Coffee and start your day in that way. But in the interest of opening kickoffs overseas, we yield the floor to Jarrett Smith.
Thank you, John. So I'm going to take you back to 2005. Where me getting into the sport after a lifetime of playing baseball is figuring out where I sit as a fan, because MLS is what it is at 2005. And it's like, I'm able to watch a little bit of it, but not a ton of it. And also still, baseball dominates most of my life. Basketball some as well, although the concussions were starting to mount with basketball. And as I get more into soccer, because I have more friends playing it, and because of going to Osborne, frankly, start looking around at different teams across the sea. This is just after the Bend It Like Beckham era. And who to pop into my view other than a one insane and wonderful Shinsuke Nakamura. Looking at free kicks after all that of, the free kick madness of people hitting long shots, then you start finding stuff like the Roberto Carlos. Then you find Nakamura beating Van der Sar 2 years later, scoring some of the best goals you've ever seen, and then thinking, okay, he plays in Scotland, huh? Okay, well, yeah, okay, let's just jump on this team. And then, 14-year-old me decides, yeah, man, a Scottish team, that'll be fun. This won't hurt me. Oh, they get to play in Europe sometimes? That'll be fun. That won't hurt at all. A contentious rivalry that spans beyond the field? That's fine. That's a problem for future me. But the reason I bring up Nakamura is he is retiring. 44 years old, has been playing in Japan for the last few years, and still actually playing a fair number of minutes, but one of the best free kick specialists to ever grace Europe. And it's wild to me that he has even still been able to make a go of it, but he is retiring. And I personally would take my hat off to him, because watching him make some of the plays he made, the goal he had against Rangers, I think it's his first Old Firm, is still one of the dumbest goals I've ever seen in my life, where the ball's bouncing in the middle of the field. He takes it off the half volley and proceeds to just hit this hard slicing shot from about 35 yards away that just starts drifting to the left after he hits it and finds back in the net. And it's just one of the dumbest shots you've ever seen in your life. But Nakamura's retiring. It means a lot to me personally, because he was the guy who I saw who was like, yeah, I'm just going to be a Celtic fan now. So bittersweet to always see the people that that got you into something. He bears a lot of responsibility for me being the way I am, which is both good and bad. But it is kind of bittersweet whenever you see those guys retiring. And I hope that Nakamura enjoys whatever retirement he has coming to him. But one of the most insane, fun free kick specialists that I think we've ever seen. And I think one person once said he could open a tin of beans with his foot if he wanted to. And I hope he just opens basically a show where he just shows up and just hits free kicks into small moving targets and makes a bunch of money doing that.
And that's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, there's your QR code. For those of you watching on Twitch, and you may partake in Kickoff Coffee, should you wish to, and have that kind of coffee for your kickoff every morning. You can follow along at kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee Co, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And what you can do once you do that is use the code SoccerDownHere15. Get 15% off of your purchase on everything when it comes to Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10% and reinvest it into the youth game. KickoffCoffeeCo.com, your proud sponsors of the opening kickoff every morning here on SDH. All right, so Nix has come in this morning, and we'll just go ahead and jump into this. In addition to Ricky mentioning that Karim Benzema better get the Ballon d'Or today, Nix has come in. He says, good morning and OFYO to all who celebrate. And so, well, I guess we'll work backward.
And peace be unto you.
Yes. Pax vobiscum. Yes, very much. That's what happens when you take 2 years of Latin in high school and 2 semesters in college. You remember those kinds of things. Fantastic atmosphere last night in Montreal. And that is not a surprise, considering that you, sir, have been there for said fantastic atmosphere, although it was not as full when you went for Atlanta United and the then Montreal Impact, if I'm not mistaken, for a game at Stade Saputo. But it was a great atmosphere last night. And Montreal, CF Montreal, as your 2 seed, advances into the semis with a 2-0 win over the purple team.
This is a pro. My heart and soul operate what is basically a pro Montreal account. God bless you, Montreal. You are basically my second choice in all of this. And it's a great atmosphere, man. It's a great stadium up there. It's a really cool venue. In my experience, because we set like one section over from the Ultras, the supporters group, whatever you want to call. I don't know how they view themselves up there. I didn't get a chance to talk to them, unfortunately.
Yes.
The people we did get a chance to talk to were so much fun. Also, there was copious amounts of poutine, so that part was great.
You were weighed down leaving the building. That's all I can say.
Buddy, I was hurting the next day too. It's a beautiful stadium. It's a beautiful atmosphere. Wilfred Nancy came into that team when it was kind of in a moment of crisis. You had Thierry Henry go and then leave right before the season started last year. Wilfred Nancy has turned that ship in a way that I know I saw more and more people talking about it last night on social media. I'd seen it before last night. It's not like it was a thing that just popped up. of people going, this team would be fun if they won a cup. Man, let Montreal host a final.
Woo.
That would be a circus.
Mm-hmm.
If for no other reason, you'd have fun traveling supporters who are able to, get their passports in line and get up there for it.
And have no tickets, because I guarantee you that all the Montreal fans would absolutely monopolize the whole thing. Yes, they should.
Yeah.
Yes, they should.
But I was very happy that Montreal. I was very happy that Montreal was able to get it done last night.
Yeah.
Jordy Mihailovic. Look, I know we're like to this point now. We like Jason and I had a joke for a long time that that they basically Chicago's existence was designed to make Jason pissed off. That was the running joke back to the Peachtree Post days, because we're talking like the 2015, 2016 Chicago was just dumb. Like it was just it was a team built on making as many bad decisions as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
Letting Jordy Mihailovic go for something less than a king's ransom really does look like Chicago gets back on their BS sometimes. God bless you, Chicago, because you just let them have Jordy Mihailovic. Why are you so dumb?
Yeah, really.
Because and that's not to say they didn't get something for him, but man, Mihailovic is got spider eyes, because his ability to find that ball to Kone to get that first goal was wonderful. Orlando had opportunities, but they weren't clinical. It's the playoffs, man. You get those moments where it comes down to being clinical. You're going to get, especially on the road. You get opportunities on the road. I got into Jackson Conway this year about that early in the season with Atlanta United too. When you're on the road and it's a tight game and you get an opportunity or three, you have to put them away, because they won't keep happening. And eventually you're going to end up sitting in your locker 90 minutes from now, staring into the void, wondering what happened. And hey, Orlando, you. Because you had opportunities, you didn't take them, and Montreal did. By the way, Orlando still has a little crazy in them, although I think they're starting to kind of leach some of the crazy out of their blood. It wasn't as insane as it's been in the past, but it's still there.
But they still, Jarrett, they come unglued, and it's hard for them to put the train back on the tracks. And you can't have that in a playoff situation, and it happened again last night.
Yeah, at the end of the game, especially as time is running down, you can kind of see the fibers coming loose on Orlando. But I give Oscar Pereja credit at the end of the day, because I wasn't sure what they would be at the end of the season, because, as so often the case, he gets more pragmatic as the season goes on. And it wasn't it was okay. Like everything worked out for them. They were not bad this season at all. So I don't know what next year looks like for them, because let's be honest. This is the best season Orlando has ever had, because they got a damn trophy, man.
Yeah.
How do you build on that though? Because part of it is you have to, if you want greatness, you got it's great that you got US Open Cup trophy. You better go get something else.
Yes.
Before it's all said and done. That can't be the only thing. And something that any team is going to deal with. You gotta build from there, and some more firepower would certainly help them. They went and they lost a tough road game where they left chances on the field.
Yeah.
You looked like a team that finished in the bottom half of the playoffs, which is a damn sight better than some teams. Cough, cough. But I think if Orlando wants to take that next step, they got to go find a little more oomph in the attack. Don't know where that is though.
Yes, and I don't know where oomph is currently playing, but you got to certainly figure that one out.
You don't want to talk about Rubio Rubin's dumbass.
Yes, and that definitely, okay, so full disclosure, as we go to RSL in Austin, I thought that when RSL scored the early goal, that the remaining 87 minutes were going to be the most gear grinding, set a bus on fire, tip it over, 90 minutes that I thought we were going to see. And then especially after RSL had a 2-goal lead, that it really was going to just be thrown in the crapper. And you were going to see, Austin come in as a 2 seed, and you were going to see Austin sit there and make their appearance. And then thanks for dropping by in front of 22,000 at Q2. But you've got to give Austin a boatload of credit. I think they had 72 goals called away for various infringements, offside and such. But you get the equalizer at 90+4, and you send it to another 30, then you send it to PKs. We'll get to that in just a bit. But Rubio Rubin, son, what are you thinking?
Usually, all the gifts that Austin got in this game through mostly that process, you usually get those sorts of gifts along with a cake and other presents.
Mm-hmm.
Because RSL got a 2-0 lead on the road in Austin. Mm-hmm. It's starting to look like, oh man, yep, okay, that's who Austin is. Okay, fun team in the regular season, getting beaten with a bike chain in the postseason by RSL. You let RSL get 2 shots on goal in you in the postseason, that requires a doctor's note as to why.
Exactly.
But no, Rubio, and look, they get one back. Ruisi and Taylor Twellman talked about during the broadcast. Would the MVP votes be any different if you did them after the playoffs? Because Hani Mukhtar, and we'll get to this in a moment, Hani Mukhtar left opportunities on the field. Sebastian Ruisi dragged his team back into that game. Now, he didn't get them over the line in 90 minutes, but at least he got on the damn score sheet and got his team back in it.
Yes.
He'll be moving on to the second weekend. Hani Mukhtar will not. How would that impact your voting?
Yeah.
Rubio Rubin, if y'all haven't seen it, it's a ball played through. Rubin's chasing it. Brad Stuver comes out and gets it. And Stuver's going to win the race to it all day long, twice on Sunday, thrice on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Rubio Rubin just decides to go sliding into him anyway. And then because that's not enough, decides to, as he is sliding, putting those spikes way the hell up there.
Mm-hmm.
And catches Stuver. It's not a straight red, but it's his second yellow card.
Yeah.
You absolute fool.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what Austin needs? Help.
Mm-hmm.
You idiot.
Thanks, Rubio Rubin.
Then you get a somewhat controversial handball at the death that puts it extra time. At that point, if you're RSL, you're just trying to get it to PKs. You do. Zach McMath's not 100%. Brad Stuber, who, man, I don't know where Tyler Twellman's getting his goalkeeper rankings.
Yeah, really.
Brad Stuber's been one of the best players in that team since day one. Not this year, since day one last year. Yep. Brad Stuber's been that goalkeeper. Dude has been an absolute monster. I don't know where the hell this conversation came from that Brad Stuber wasn't as good as Zach McMath. Now, if you're saying just on PKs and it's a matter of numbers, man, I don't know. I don't have those numbers in front of me. Put some respect on Brad Stuber's name because Brad Stuber's been doing work.
Brad Stuber has saved, if you include yesterday, 6 of his last 16 penalty kick attempts that have been kicked at him.
Okay, I know that's y'all think of penalties. If we're looking percentages, think of it like baseball. Like you're not going to bat 900. You're not going to save a 900 percentage penalties unless you are Tim Melia, who might be a legitimate crazy person. And Tim Melia really is not what he was. I think the sun is fading on his twilight of his career up in Kansas City, and it's an incredibly underrated career that we need to talk about at a different time. But man, Brad Stuber's been really damn good, and he showed it again.
Yeah.
Good job, Brad.
Yeah. For those, and I was trying to do the bad.
By the way, his second PK save was just like stupid. Where he's diving to his left, reaches up with that paw and gets in. It has like those Giannis arms to reach up and get a touch to that ball and put it off the crossbar, and basically they're in like Flynn at that point.
6 out of 16 is a save percentage of .375.
It's pretty damn good when you consider the fact that it's one person in a giant ass goal.
Mm-hmm. you're saving 37.5%, almost 40% of your last 16 penalties. That is what Brad Stuver has done. And on the anniversary, the 6th anniversary of his first Major League Soccer start, by the way. Here is a guy who, for the majority of his time, has been a number 2 in Major League Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Was left exposed.
I mean, that's funny because that's what that game was. Zach McMath was the quintessential number 2 Major League Soccer goalkeeper for, man, I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Zach McMath was behind Tim Howard in Colorado. And I remember when Atlanta had their expansion draft, people were ready like, hey, draft Zach McMath.
Uh-huh.
Go get him.
Yeah.
He's there. Like, he was that guy that you're talking about with Stuver. And it's not any disrespect to Stuver, but you've always got guys like that. It's the way people viewed Alec Kann before he left Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Which then he got Wally pipped.
Yes, he did. And Celentano has been great for both fantasy and for FC Cincinnati. So I'm trying to look at save percentages since Michael had asked the question of, okay, so to answer your question about Brad Gazan is 2 out of 15 in his save percentage in his career when it comes to PKs. According to our friends at FBref, if I'm reading this correctly, he's 2 out of PKs attempted and PK saves. And great. Penalty kicks attempted, penalty kicks allowed. Okay, so 2 of 18. Sorry. So
some guys are good at them, some guys aren't. Like it's one of those things. PKs are not a clear cut. PKs are not a clear cut thing. You get some keepers who are really good at them, and some who are not at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to measure sometimes. Like, yeah, Goose hasn't really been that guy.
Yeah. So
I don't know why either. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I would like, this is a question probably for someone like Jess. Like, hey, what is it about like penalties? Like, how can you quantify this for normal people who don't stand in a goal and get balls hit at them all day long and twice on Sunday? Like, I don't know how you quantify that out.
Right. And we are efforting Jess in the off season on a weekly basis. So we'll be able to ask questions of her of this kind of a variety.
I say all that to say, yeah, Brad Guzan hasn't been that guy on penalties like a Stuver, like Zach McMath was the other night.
McMath, or Armando,
Tim Melia,
those guys.
Like, he hasn't been that guy.
No.
And I don't know. I would love to get Jess's opinion on it and other goalkeepers if we can get them. Like, what is it about goalkeeping that makes it so difficult?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I mean, and that is definitely something to ask goalies in general about mindset and things like that, and how you approach when PKs are there. But yeah, Austin got it, and I legitimately thought that RSL was going to grind it out, but then you end up going to PKs. Brad Stuver was ridiculous. Schmidt airmailed the final attempt, and Austin moves on in that one. And so, since you had mentioned Hani Mukhtar earlier, let's get into the Hani Mukhtar match.
Okay.
Where Nashville had no offense, and in a match where you're supposed to score to possibly proceed further, you did none of that, and Los Angeles moves on.
Yeah, we talked about it. I talked about it last week. Like, it's the playoffs are a matter of your guys showing up. Like, if we showing up, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You needed Hani Mukhtar to be that guy who got you to the playoffs. Like, look, Hani Mukhtar kind of dragged you through part of that season straight up and got you into the postseason. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
But, man.
That's it.
We're in same situation we've been in for the last year with Nashville. You need something else. Aki Loba isn't that guy right now. Jason and I were talking about it last night. He was great in Monterey. Not sure why it's not working, but when we talk about, Atlanta needs more productivity out of positions, Nashville's needed that out of the 9. It's one of my biggest things about and we'll get to the last game here in a minute with Cincinnati and New York and the hate watching I did for that game.
Oh God.
It's the same thing with Brandon Vasquez about I don't know why we didn't keep him. Well, you didn't keep him because he left in the expansion draft, which is an incredibly flawed process already.
Yeah.
I
mean, at first it was a numbers game to begin with, and it came down to who you were going to expose and who you were going to.
I swear to God, if they go through the expansion draft this year and say, it's $50,000 if you lose somebody, screw you, MLS. Give them more money. Atlanta's exempt from it this year, thank God.
Yeah.
But whoever does lose a player, give them more than $50,000 because you've told teams you want them to invest more. You want them to build these better rosters where you got more value across the damn board. And then you're going to tell them, we'll give you $50,000 if you lose a player. Yeah, the player you lose might be worth more than $50,000. Dingbats.
Mm-hmm. Strange.
Because that's what happened. I mean, that's what happened in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And it's what happened. It's what happened. You think some teams are going to lose a guy like Brad Stuver and be like, yeah, 50,000 is fine? Or when they got Lima from San Jose, Lima was on the national team picture at the time.
Yeah,
you just gave him 50,000 for him. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Thanks,
but it won't. So he gets drafted by Nashville, and it's one of my things with Vasquez, and I'll get back to this point. I can't believe Brandon, they let Brandon Vasquez go. Well, first of all, Joseph was Joseph at that point. Joseph was Joseph coming off of 2019 where he set the record for goals in a single season. You didn't expect you couldn't have predicted him to be what he was, and you couldn't have predicted Brandon Vasquez to be what he has turned into be. He was Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez.
Yes.
God bless him for it.
Yep.
You know who's probably as upset about it as Atlanta fans? Nashville fans. Because Nashville's the one that took him in the expansion draft and flipped him to Cincinnati. Considering the fact that Nashville can't buy a striker that's consistently functional, you think Nashville would not give their right hand to have him now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
By the way, he absolutely dusted Aaron Long. That was hilarious. But yes, yeah, Nashville's still missing that. Hani Mukhtar is great. Hani Mukhtar can do that thing where he drags you through things. But Nashville had a lot of holes this year. They had a lot of up and down moments. We've talked about this here. We've talked about it in the green room that it feels like Nashville hasn't ever taken that next step. I don't know how they do it. Hopefully, Gary Smith is feeling better. I know he missed the game.
Yeah.
I think it was a non-COVID, not feeling well kind of thing.
It was the flu from every indication. Yeah.
Hopefully, he's feeling better. Because he's done great work there, man. But I don't know what the next step is for Nashville because you're getting to the playoffs every year. But okay, cool. You're pulling a Red Bulls, man.
Yeah.
You're getting to the playoffs every year. But then you're running into a wall every year. And this time you ran into a wall against an LA Galaxy team that's frankly kind of up and down.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict the Galaxy, man.
Yes. And for the record, Emilio, he said that it was 18 in Brad's career, and that's just Major League Soccer. That does not include the Premier League. Raul Godinho 0 for 4 this season in 6 matches for Atlanta United. In his career, he is 5 for 14 in a lot of his time with Guadalajara. He was 5 for 14, and he's 0 for 4 with Atlanta United. So Red Bulls got the Duke. Cincinnati got the Duke 2 goals in 12 minutes. Lucho Acosta, Brandon Vasquez, 74 and 86. So once again, you have Red Bulls falling down all over themselves and drooling in Harrison, New Jersey again. And so they're away after losing 2-1 to Cincinnati, which gets us into the matches today. And there are 2 of them. And one's at 8 and one's at 10. And FS1 and Fox Deportes are really making the gamble that Philadelphia and Cincinnati – the first 7 and 9:30. I'm looking a couple days down the road. I'm looking at Thursday. They're 7 and 9:30. That's better. NYC and Inter Miami and FS1 has them both. I'm double checking here. I'm double checking. Okay. Mega pregame show, not super mega, but mega. So a 7:20 kick at Citi Field. So right now we are still at Citi Field. We still have 9.5 hours before kick. Something could change. They could move it again and tell the fans, here's the deal. We're moving it one more time. But right now at Citi Field, it's at 7 o'clock. So that is 7:20. So that's what we think we know when it comes to start times. And yes, my tongue is firmly planted in cheek for this one because I'm still not giving Major League Soccer a pass on this one because 5 days before a playoff game, you just let a team change a venue. That's not cool. I'm sorry.
No, it is the most. That's not something the top flight league does. You don't just willy-nilly like, oh, we're going to change the venue because we're just going to put it in the city. Like, man, you were less than a week out from the game.
Mm-hmm.
Play the damn game.
Mm-hmm. Just because the Mets suck doesn't give you an excuse to change a venue.
If we did things if we changed things because the Mets sucked every time the Mets sucked, we would never have any consistency on this planet.
Mm-hmm. Just saying. Right now, juice boxes have NYC at a -152. Your draws a +295. Inter Miami is at a +400. Fun facts. After NYC won each of their first 5 against Inter Miami, the Herons have responded with a 3-2 home win August 13. Alejandro Pozuelo involved in all 3 as he's recorded 14 goal contributions in 12 games against NYC in his career, most of any player against a single opponent since Pozuelo joined Major League Soccer 2019. 7th straight playoff appearance for NYCFC, second longest active streak in MLS behind Red Bulls, who are not playing. Hey, their venue's available. You can move it back there. 3 of NYC's last 5 postseason matches have gone to penalties, losing to Orlando City in 2020 before winning both conference semi against New England MLS Cup against Portland last season. NYC won their final 3 matches of the regular season after winning just one of its previous 10, losing 7 of those. NYC has been hot and cold this year. No joke. Like I said, I'm reading directly from the notes from the league. NYC has been hot and cold this year, posting 4 different streaks of at least 3 wins and 3 different streaks of at least 4 games without a win. Inter Miami's in the playoffs proper for the first time after losing the expanded 2020 postseason. Just won 2 of their first 15 on the road this year, losing 10 before winning at both DC and Toronto in their last 2 away matches. Marks only the second time in club history that the Herons have won consecutive road games. Cincinnati and Toronto in September 2021. NYC has had a strong Brazilian influence this season, especially after the midseason departure of your Lord and Savior Tati Castellanos, Jarrett. Of 29 goals,
I don't want to talk about it.
Excluding OGs, NYC has scored after Castellanos' departure 17 scored by Brazilians, including each of the last 3 by 3 different players: Talis Magno, Gabriel Pereira, and Eber. Further, since the start of last season's playoffs, 59 of NYCFC's 63 goals, excluding own goals, have been scored by South Americans. And then I know that you're wishing for a Gonzalo Higuain run-in. Strong finish to his final regular season. 5 straight games scored before being held goalless on decision day after scoring only twice in his first 14. Scored 14 in his final 16, as only the Union's Daniel Gazdag scored more since that run began in mid-June. What say you, Jarrett Smith?
I say I'm taking Miami.
I am too.
In the grounds that I can't trust New York City. And sure, you're playing at Citi Field. Oh, a New York team's playing at Citi Field at a big moment. Wonder how that's going to go. Did you ever think maybe the grounds are cursed?
Mm-hmm.
Shea Stadium was semi-cursed, but at least Shea Stadium had rings.
Except for
at
Kevin
a point in the past.
Yeah.
1986 didn't happen at Citi Field. I'm starting to think that stadium is cursed more so than the team is. But, yeah, Miami, give me Miami.
Yep.
Give me, I don't know, a weird moment from Lassiter. Give me this idea.
Yeah.
We know about Higuain.
Yes, we do.
If Campana shows up too,
okay,
like he did at the end of the regular season, Oh, buddy, I don't want to play Miami because
No.
they're unpredictable, but that potentially gives them two guys who can ruin your life, and two is more than one.
Yes, that is accurate.
Give me Miami in this. New York's got decisions they got to make for the offseason for sure.
Yeah, and after decision day, we still do not have any health update on either Tavon Gray or Tallis Magno. And for the record, Tallis Magno, when he was being wheeled to the ambulance in the caverns on the underside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium last week, his left arm was heavily wrapped, and his elbow looked like it had its own zip code, because it literally, his left elbow seriously had a lot of padding and a lot of wrap. So we do not know Tavon Gray and Tallis Magno's status heading into this one. So that is your 7:00 kick on FS1 and Fox Deportes. Your 9:30 kick, which has a normal pregame show. So 9:38 kick at Toyota Stadium, Dallas and Minnesota. Right now, juice boxes have FC Dallas at a -111. Your draw in Minnesota United, 90-minute draw in Minnesota United, basically within the margin of error at about a +275. Fun facts. Only one road win in the first 12 MLS meetings between Dallas and Minnesota, 11 losses, but both teams won on the other's ground this season. Minnesota beat Dallas 2-1 Toyota Stadium before Dallas won 3-0 at Minnesota September 3rd. Sebastian Lletget assisted on 2 of Dallas's 3 goals in the September 3rd meeting, as his 7-goal contributions against Minnesota, 4 goals, 3 assists, are his second most against any MLS opponent. He's got 8 versus Seattle. Once again, this is the league notes that I'm reading from here. Perhaps no two teams will be happier that no Cascadia teams made the playoffs than Dallas and Minnesota. And then it goes into something about Minnesota, Seattle, Portland, and Dallas, Seattle, Portland, which is not germane to the conversation. Just ask Sheriff.
The Germans ain't got nothing to do with it.
Exactly, Sheriff Justice. Thank you. FC Dallas finished the season unbeaten in its last 7 home matches, winning 5, though 4 of the 5 wins came by 1-goal margins. Last time I checked, if you still win by a 1-goal margin, you still win. Dallas hasn't
baby.
Yeah, Dallas hasn't allowed more than 1 goal in any of its last 9 home matches, holding opponents to just 7 goals at Toyota Stadium in that time. Minnesota enters the postseason having lost 4 consecutive road games, being outscored 10-1. Loons did manage 6 away wins this season, including 4 Dallas Galaxy, Red Bulls, Nashville, against teams that qualified for the playoffs. Only conference top seeds Philadelphia and LAFC, 5 each, won more road games against playoff teams. Jesus Ferreira set a single-season club record with 18 goals for FCD this season, joined in double digits by Paul Arriola, who ended a 10-match goal drought by scoring his 10th goal of the year on decision day. First pair of American teammates to reach double-digit goals in a single MLS regular season since Clint Dempsey and Will Bruin for Seattle in 2017. Bebe Reynoso scored 10 times and had 11 assists this season, one of 6 players to hit double digits in both categories, including playoffs. Reynoso has recorded at least 10 assists in each of his 3 MLS seasons, only player in the league to hit double figures in assists in the last 3 years. His 35 assists are second only behind Carlos Heel. What say you, Jarrett Smith?
Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you say all that just to say Dallas.
Of course.
Minnesota, your punishment must be more severe.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have my permission to die.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy that punishment.
Yes.
Because it's going to be severe.
Yes, it is. I ain't looking for a whole lot of Minnesota on the road tonight for the late game. Burns says, Tati Castellanos has 2 goals in 9 matches in Spain. I doubt that his transfer value will ever approach the $15 million that Citigroup is seeking. That was always unrealistic.
Tati is welcome to come back to his home church whenever he wants. When his mission is over and he chooses to come home and he has spread enough salvation from the Church of Tati, I welcome him back home.
Yes. The Church de Castellanos. He could be Devin Durant, and he comes back after 4 years of playing basketball at BYU. He comes back, and he's 20.
Yeah, I'm about to say he's going to be basically a BYU offensive lineman.
Yes, that is true. So those are your 2 matches tonight at 7:20 and 9:38 for those of you that will be partaking, as we will tonight.
Gentle reminder that everyone at BYU who on that football team has a better credit score than all of us and an AARP membership.
That is true. Simultaneously, actually.
Yeah.
Let's see what folks have on their minds this
If that joke doesn't land with you, it's because they're Mormon and they go on missions after high school before they go to college. So they're in the mid to late 20s when they're in college. So why Ty Detmer was like 33 years old at BYU.
Yes. We will be going over the postseason. Actually, tell you what, why don't we do that before you go? Let's go over the postseason nominations in Major League Soccer, because it was one of the things that came out, yet we did not have the chance to discuss them once they were put out there in the public purview. So as we look at, I'm trying to figure out where I can reach it quickly so I can look at all of the postseason stuff, and that is the official term. So where are my postseason awards at? I'm trying to find where the postseason. Okay, the league awards. Okay, so here we go. League awards. Ismail Elfath was named referee of the year ahead of Alan Chapman and Armando Villarreal. And so of the 38 different metrics, and it's basically players, clubs, and the media. Very close vote. Ismail Elfath over Alan Chapman and Armando Villarreal. We saw Elfath last night in Montreal.
We did. And, buddy, he had a line on him about, about what a penalty was, because Montreal, with a different ref, might have had 3 penalties in the first half.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they were all penalties. It doesn't mean that Elfath was wrong. That means they could have had 3 penalties in the first half with a different ref.
Yes, that is true. And Corey Rockwell was named AR of the year. So good to see Corey Rockwell getting the Duke for your AR of the year. Most valuable player finalists. And once again, this is for folks in the Twitch pitch too. Let me know what you're thinking about this, and we'll talk about it more in depth in hour number 2. Landon Donovan, MLS Most Valuable Player finalists. Chicho Arango, Andre Blake, Driussi, Hernandez, Chicharito, and Hani Mukhtar. And of course, we're doing this after weekend number 1 also.
That's the thing, is like this. I think all the voting is done before the playoffs, so it's hard for us to have a very unbiased conversation, in my opinion, because we know where it stands now. Because Hani Mukhtar and Driussi was the competition. I think Hani Mukhtar is going to end up taking it personally.
Yeah.
Having said that, both of them put together fantastic seasons, and they're both winners in my book, to be cliche about it.
Yes.
You could go on with either one of them, and I would think you're good.
No, I'm right there with you. I think
Hani's going to win it.
Yeah, I think it's Driussi's fast start and fade against Mukhtar that got Nashville's push into the playoff position that they're in, and so recency bias will lend itself to Hani Mukhtar.
Yeah,
as you got toward the end of the regular season.
Andre Blake deserves some votes, though. Like, if you told me Andre Blake racked up like basically all the third place votes, I would absolutely buy that. Yeah, if you racked up some second place votes, I would absolutely buy that. Andre Blake was very, very good, and because the playoffs are built to undermine your ideas of what you think is the MVP voting, he'll probably rack up some insane saves in the playoffs.
Well, and I think it's also when you have a pitcher who is in the MVP discussion where you don't anticipate him seeing anything from an MVP perspective, but you get him as the Cy Young. And so I think that that's what you're going to look at there when it comes to the award. I think that you will end up with Blake getting votes, and I think that you will end up with Andre Blake winning goalkeeper of the year, because it's Andre Blake, Drake Callender, and Georgi Petrovic. So I think that the way that the goalkeeper of the year finalists are stacked, I think that it goes to Andre Blake. And I think that, yes, he'll get third place votes and probably some seconds and maybe even some Northeast ones. But I think that Blake will not get MVP. I think that it goes to probably Mukhtar over Driussi, which should mean that the vote should be postponed to a later time in general. But I think that All-State Goalkeeper of the Year goes to Andre Blake. That's just me. Defender of the Year, and this is part of the fun part of this, Alexander Callens against Jacob Glesnes and Kai Wagner. Under normal circumstances, you would think that, say, Glesnes and Kai Wagner would cancel each other out. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. I think that it probably ends up going to Kai Wagner. Alexander Callens for NYC. Once again, you're looking at defender numbers, and it lends itself to the great goals against that Philadelphia had last season. So I would end up going with Kai Wagner for Defender of the Year over Alexander Callens and Jacob Glesnes. Newcomer of the Year, Thiago Almada. All right, end of discussion. And it's also got Cucho and Petrovic there as well, but I've got to go with Almada for Newcomer of the Year. That, to me, is an absolute no-brainer. Young Player of the Year finalist. This is where it gets interesting. I would – you're going to look at Jesus Ferreira or Brenner just because of playoffs versus Almada, but I would anticipate Rich, I saw your photos about FanFest. I want to get your feedback on that. Almada, Brenner, and Jesus Ferreira. I think, once again, Newcomer of the Year ends up going to somebody that didn't make the playoffs, where Young Player of the Year does. So it's either Brenner or Jesus Ferreira, and it may end up being Jesus Ferreira in that regard. Comeback Player of the Year, I think it goes to Gonzalo Higuain just because of what happened with him. We talked about it when we were going through the fun facts of NYC and Inter Miami. I think it goes to Gonzalo Higuain as a tip of the hat for him and his time coming over to Major League Soccer. MLS Works Humanitarian of the Year, Alejandro Bedoya, Kai Kamara, Brad Stuver. Give it to all three of them. Give them each something. Give them the same award 3 times over. If you're a finalist and it's MLS Works Humanitarian of the Year, give each one of the finalists something. They've all won. It's a tie. I don't care. No, when it comes to being a humanitarian of the year, there should be no contest. You've got finalists here. Give them all the award. Triple the award that has initially been invested in. Give something to Bedoya, something equal to Kamara, and a third equal to Brad Stuver. Bottom line. Siggy Schmidt, Coach of the Year. Finalists: Cherundolo, Curtin, Nancy. After last night, it just reinforces for me Wilfred Nancy. We got into this discussion with Nico Moreno when we had Thursdays with Nico on Friday, just about how tremendous a job that he has done. So I would go with Wilfred Nancy, frankly, over Steve Cherundolo. LAFC was given a lot of toys to play with. And frankly, I think that you look at LAFC and it's like, well, you're supposed to do what you did. Jim Curtin, fantastic defense. Yeah, I get it. But I've got to go with Wilfred Nancy here and what we're seeing out of CF Montreal. And we got the referee and the assistant referee of the finalists there as well. Let's see. All right, so that's just me. Whatever you guys think as we continue to have that list roll through, let me know what you think when it comes to those awards. Let's see. Also on the board this morning, we'll get to the promo read coming up in just a little bit. All right, so Rich, I know Philly had a big weekend. EPL Fan Fest in Philly. Phillies won, Eagles won, Flyers won. Who are these Flyers? Union home playoff, best city in the world. And then Nick's, glad you enjoyed it, but only you, Rich. Saw your post from Fan Fest. And I saw the photos too. It was good to see. There was a picture with Jonathan Tannenwald, I believe, that was a part of that mix. And I think that Centennial Olympic Park would be a fantastic place to have Fan Fest when we can convince the folks at NBC Sports to come down into the South and have it there. Just have it right there at Centennial Olympic Park. Close the park down. You thought 10,000 people in downtown Philly was crazy. You probably end up having a lot more folks in there for Centennial Olympic Park if Fan Fest was there. So NBC Sports, I'm talking to you. NBC Sports Soccer, Centennial Olympic Park. That's where it needs to happen. When you have your Fan Fest, be a part of Olympic history. And be part where this city has hosted Olympiads. We've done a lot of things. We've done College Game Day, I want to say, there in Centennial Olympic Park. You honestly should have it right there in the heart of the city. Got great sight lines and cityscapes and everything right there. Have it right there at Centennial Olympic Park. David, I did. Well, Higuain should be comeback player of the year or comeback player within the year, no doubt, considering how his season finished. Like I said, I think it's going to be a tip of the hat more than anything else. I think it's just going to be one of these. You sit there, you tip your hat to him. Thanks for coming by, and it was great to see you. let's see. Knicks had tickets for Game 5 in Philly. Rich and I saw the video of the lines outside the park when NBC came on air, and they had just barely started letting folks in. The fact that you guys were queued up to the night before, give you a fantastic amount of credit for that. And it was great. And almost when Sheamus almost either body slammed or debated throwing Robbie Mustoe into the crowd during the Liverpool discussion, that was great television. And when you can get a host like Rebecca Lowe completely and totally flustered after you pick up a co-host and threaten to throw him into the stands, that's some funny stuff. But now, heart of downtown, Centennial Olympic Park, that's where you need to have it, legitimately, right there. Wow, it took you 90 minutes to get in. Yeah, it did look packed. That's some tremendous stuff right there when you're looking at that stuff. All right, so Ricky, King Benzema gets his trophy today. I'm going back to the top of the order when it comes to all of the stuff that you guys had in your thought pattern. I would hope that Benzema gets the Ballon d'Or, and I'm right there with you. Michael Head. Who else is secretly wanting NYCFC to host MLS Cup and play it in New Jersey? It'd be so bad. It would be beautiful and show how absurd MLS lets NYC play on kids' fields or their rival or Connecticut or wherever. Michael, it does have some merit, but I frankly, to the discussion that we had in this morning early on, I would love for it to be in Montreal. Just to sit there and have the American TV rights holders. There's your Sheamus photo, Rich. Nicely done. I want it in Montreal. I frankly do. And I think it would be absolutely awesome to have that place absolutely packed. Do not, under any circumstance, move it to the Big O at all. No. Keep it at Stade Saputo. Make it, make it an absolutely loud and packed place, and really show off that fantastic venue to North American television. I think it would be fantastic. But yes, Michael, considering everything that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, yeah, for it to be an NYC final, then you'd have to sit there and figure out where you're going to play it. Is it Citi Field? And it's baseball stadium or Red Bull Arena or something like that. My guess is they'd probably move it to Red Bull just for the soccer facility. Emilio, after Jarrett's early morning rant for opening kickoff, making me feel old, younger than I thought, but damn mature. And like I said, yeah, he does have an old soul. Nixon. I don't know if I was rooting for RSL, but I figured once it was 2-0. Legitimately, I thought it was over. I legitimately did, and I thought that it was going to be one of those where they score the early goal and it's just absolutely ridiculously crazy stupid. And there was going to be absolutely no shot. I thought that it was going to be Pablo Mastroeni and just they were going to clamp it down and sit there and just kick about. And it's like, you go chase it. We'll be right here when you come back and defend for 97, 87 minutes. And then when you're up 2, it's like, yep, this was over. I was wrong, absolutely wrong. And so we'll see. We'll see what the deal is there. Let's see. Shiva, good morning. Still on Team Montreal, and even more now since last night. They play some good soccer. They do. And when you have, and if Jarrett comes back in, I want to ask Jarrett what he thinks about Victor Wanyama, and we will definitely find out what he thinks about Victor Wanyama and having that little extra bit of nasty. And I know that a lot of Atlanta fans remember Victor Wanyama squaring up against Joseph Martinez in the tunnel for that one game at Stade Saputo a couple of years ago. But no, they are a stout bunch, and they are tough. They're tough on you defensively, imaginative on you offensively. Georgi Mihailovic heading to AZ Alkmaar for $6 million. Good piece of business for Joey Saputo. You'd think that they might have gotten a little more, but after this season, he's heading to AZ Alkmaar. So, you're getting to see the quality of Piet. You're getting to see the quality of Ismail Kone. You're getting to see the quality of Georgi Mihailovic and the ageless quality of a guy like Kai Kamara. It's been fun. Yeah, you might need an orange game ball if you get a snow game there, and that'd be even better. I mean, could you imagine the visuals for something like that? If you got one more home game at least, and if you end up, and we'll go over the permutations for playoffs going forward, but yeah, you've got one more next weekend, and that could be very, very cool. If we look at weather.com and see what's going on in Montreal, let's go ahead and look at weather.com and see what we're anticipating here. So, all right, so let's check the weather next weekend early on in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and see if we are in an orange ball situation next weekend. So the 10-day forecast. And let's see, next weekend, it'll be in the 60s. So it will not be an orange ball situation next weekend. Temperatures in the 60s and the 40s in the evening. So, and if it was to continue into, if for some reason, if Philadelphia lost next weekend, then Montreal is your top seed in the East. You'd be in a rainy situation at the end of the month, but it would be temperatures in the 50s and 40s. So you're still not in an orange ball situation until you would get to a possible MLS Cup. So we'll keep an eye on that going forward. Also on the board. Yeah, I thought it was over. I legitimately did. Yes, Emilio, as long as it's not Philly or LAFC, I'm good. I don't think either of them make it. I really don't. I don't think either of them make it. That's just my gut. But I don't think LAFC makes it all the way through, and I think Philadelphia stumbles. And I think that if it comes down to it, I think Montreal beats Philly in Chester. Sorry, Rich. I just think that Philadelphia limped into the latter stages of the postseason, into the regular season, and I think that they've limped into the postseason. I don't think they're the same team that they were when they started. They've been proven that they can be had. Just look at the game in Charlotte, and you can sit there and then look at that game and sit there as possibly a blueprint on how to beat Philadelphia. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's see. Yeah, huge wingspan goalies have an edge, but no, I don't know Emilia's wingspan, Nick's. I really don't. Nick Raimondo certainly didn't have the biggest wingspan. Let me check Raimondo's numbers since we're spending a lot of time in FB Ref this morning. I want to check Nick Raimondo's numbers and see if we can get his PK save numbers. And I want to get Nick Raimondo's numbers here in performance. Let's see. So when they started keeping numbers on and on FB Ref, he was 5 of 18, but that doesn't sound complete. Nick Raimondo PK save numbers, because I thought his percentage was far better than that, even when they okay, so 2017 all-time leader, and this is 2 years before he retired, so this is somewhat outdated information. 130 career shutouts in 2017. Raimondo, all-time MLS leader with 29 penalty kicks either saved or missed against him in regular season action. Helped RSL pair of penalty kick shootouts in 2009 for their lone MLS Cup. So he has at least 29 saves, but they didn't keep records officially until 2019. So, or until 2015. So keep an eye on that. But I've always thought that Nick Raimondo, who was not the tallest of players, had one of the best anticipations when it came to saving penalties. Raimondo, I want to say, was 5'6", 5'7". Maybe 5'8" in cleats. But yeah, Nick Raimondo is ridiculous. You're already paranoid. You don't need me to make it worse, Rich. Sorry. It's just staring at the facts, sir. This is very, very Dragnet Joe Friday of me, just looking at the facts. Let's see. Michael Hedden, we were talking about the expansion draft sarcastically, and I feel like this should have a Groucho Marx cigar attached. Sarcastically, there are a couple of players that would not mind losing the expansion draft. So that's why I read it like that. Let's see. Yes, a lot of lines. But yeah, David, definitely comeback player within this season, in addition to how he started and how he finished. But I still think he gets that he gets it. Shiva, Montreal's how I envision Atlanta to play next year, maybe when we have more consistency and, yes, players that aren't as injured. Burn, with the Dodgers and Braves crashing out, or the Revs last year as another example, I was wondering whether sports leagues executives will finally learn that these buys to start playoffs are actually a disadvantage in many sports. Not NFL, obviously, but all other sports. I'm fairly certain, Burn, that when you look at all of these individuals and all of these leagues, if you were to ask executives off the record what they thought of the bye week, publicly they would probably sit there and tell you it's great for getting your players healthy and all those kinds of things. But I'm fairly certain at the same time that there are just as many folks who would tell you off the record, off camera, off mic, and you put your pen down, that, it's great for making sure that your injuries heal up, but at the same time, they want it to continue their momentum when it comes to everything that they've worked hard for during the regular season. So I understand the idea of it in principle. You've earned the right to take a week off, but when it comes to chasing after a championship, I think that there's something to be said for rhythm. And there you go. And you end up with teams that are out of rhythm. I mean, New England didn't have stuff to play for after they clinched. And so they kind of just cruised in. Then you had the bye week, then their first match out. Then they got bumped off. And they were out of the playoffs. And all of the work that they had put in with all the records they'd set did nothing, did less than nothing. And it did not get them that title that they were chasing after. So you look at TV revenue and TV contracts, they will sit there and say, okay, here's what we want. We want the bye week. And of course, you're going to have owners and execs sit there and take that television revenue. And if it's an increased contract, they're going to take that money. And if it means that you sit out for a week, that you sit out for a week, but you've got a TV contract. Yeah, owners wanting a reward for the regular season then adds more teams in the early rounds. And then once again, Rich, as you're saying, what it does is it gives you that extra element of TV revenue, and you get more teams in, you get more games played, you get more stuff happening for your league, more exposure, blah, blah, blah. So that's how it is. MLS just kept putting the playoffs in the middle of the international breaks. So, yeah. But that's where we are with all that stuff. So yeah, it is a revenue driver for the leagues in these contracts, and more often than not, especially in recent years, as you said, Burn, the top teams are not making it all the way to the end because of that off time that they have. If they've clinched, they're kind of fading into the end of the season. And then there's the bye week, and then you've got to turn the engine over immediately when you come back. And so sometimes it does not end up that way. So we'll keep an eye on that. Keep your ideas coming. Keep all of your thoughts coming as we head into hour number 2. And since we are heading into hour number 2, that means that I have to go down and adjust the music levels and make sure that it's not blowing me out when it comes to me reading a promo. And if I can find my copy, then I can read you the promo, and we can actually start hour number 2 properly like this. Brought to us by our friends at Eliminize Service. Rotor-free, clean, fresh air. One place you need to go. It is Eliminize Service, as Eliminize Service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. The turnkey process makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers, kind of the environment, offering a clean way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or other masking agents that we have either above us in the cupboard, beneath us, underneath our sink, because when we open those doors and reach above us and reach into the cupboard, or open the door and reach below our sink and reach down there and pull out said masking agent, you spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because all it does is mask the odor. It does not attack the problem all the way down to the molecule like the Lemonize service does with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, one of two ways, either by cubic feet or parts per million, whichever is more affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's the website. But after you punch in the website, we do have a bit of a request. After the .com, got some homework for you. So your full homework assignment, as I reach over my shoulder and grab my pen, ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, lemonize.com/Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Why the /Atlanta? Just so our folks that are Lemonize know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from, so they can know where you are to help you attack your problem. So lemonize.com/Atlanta. Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. As we start hour number 2 here, and attempt to slow fade, because if I was to just mash the stop button, it would be a really hard stop in trying to get the music all figured out, squared away, and what have you before we get into hour number 2. So Shiva is saying that we'll just go ahead and have 8 teams make the playoffs so the first teams don't take a break. Yeah, and then you would, in Shiva, that does make sense. But then you would also have, you would have that in the National Hockey League. And we have that right there. We've seen teams who are 8 seeds, like the Los Angeles Kings, storm their way through, knock off every team. They beat the 1, they beat the 4, and then they beat the 2, I think, on their way to making it into the Stanley Cup final and winning that one as well. But you get into the playoffs as an 8 seed, that's the whole thing. Regardless of what sport we're talking about, you get into the playoffs. You get into the playoffs as an 8. You get into the playoffs as a 7. That's when you can make your noise. Last season, not this year, but that's what Pablo Mastroeni did, and was that close to making it to an MLS Cup. So, work by Pablo Mastroeni and RSL shows that when you get in, that's when you can make your hay. Colonel, for increased playoff revenue, less teams and 2-legged ties, eliminate bye weeks. Ramondo's 5'9". Thank you, Colonel. Are we sure he's 5'9", or was that a posted 5'9", or did he say he was 5'9"? That's my other question here. But no, I would love 2-legged ties. Eliminate the bye week, absolutely. But yes, eliminate the single legs. And the thing is that they do it in Mexico, and they don't have the same scheduling issues. It is literally Wednesday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, and they keep going. And there was some craziness that happened in the Liguilla over the weekend, and we have our semifinals set there as well. We'll get over that. We'll go over that info for you as we are working our way through a Monday. Once again, thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us on a Monday. Let's see, the week in programming. We're going to try and grab as many folks as possible when it comes to the Final Four in League One. Charlotte, Tormenta, Union Omaha, Chattanooga. So we'll reach out to all those folks and see if we can piece together a playoff opening round preview in USL League One. You will get your championship and League One review preview stuff. That'll come out tomorrow. Prim and Proper comes out tomorrow. Dylan Butler will join us on Wednesday. And Nico Moreno, we will try, effort, and otherwise hope to make sure that for once we're both in the same place at the same time. We'll have Thursdays with Nico on a Thursday afternoon, so keep an eye out for that. And then Friday is normal. 9:05 start, since there aren't a whole lot of games to talk about. Beyond Goals, our friends, will be joining us once again at 9:30. I think it's Greg Garza's week this time. And then at 10 o'clock, we are efforting a guest to walk you through USL League One semifinals and then their opening round as well. So we will discuss that. So it's opening round because 6 teams made the playoffs. So it's the opening round of the USL League One playoffs. So we'll hopefully have a guest Friday morning at 10. So we will run through everything this entire week, and that's your programming off the board. So looking forward to having you guys here for yet another week. Burned, I really think most first-place teams coaches would rather play the 8 seed and stay in rhythm than just sit around for 2 weeks. Yeah, I legitimately think that that's the case. Then can we just not have the coach bring up the stripers and play some simulated games, get your pitchers lined up and stay ready? By is fine. Coaching needs to keep them sharp. So And David, once again, you are a part of the opinion as well. It's not everyone is locked into the notion of 1 versus 8 out of the blocks because of what we've seen in other sports. I know a lot of folks will sit there and it's like take the bye week, run with it, and if the Braves want to play the Stripers, then we can figure stuff like that out. But no, you are not on an island by yourself, David. There are folks that firmly believe, just as much as Burned and the Colonel and a lot of other folks, that 1 versus 8 should work, and you should have 2-legged ties. Then I think that Colonel, I think we could still have the same number of teams. I just think that you probably expand it to 8. 1 plays 8, 2-legged tie, Wednesday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, and just keep going. Then I think you'll be fine. I would have no problem with 8, 1 plays 8. And I know that David looks like you're the kind of guy that would sit there and it's like, okay, we won, we deserve a bye week, and then it's up to us to figure out how to stay sharp. So now we have just as many folks with the shared opinions all the way across the board. Let's see. Yesterday, Premier League, looking at what happened there, Liverpool, who everybody thought was just over, outdone, and gone, not happening. They knocked off Manchester City by the score of 1-0. They were 13 back, and now they're at 13 points after 9 matches. So they've got a match in hand, and I think it's against Chelsea. Arsenal right now 4 points clear. No draws in their first 10 matches. Manchester City's drawn twice, and that's your basis right there. 2 less wins, 2 draws. So Arsenal with the 1-0 win, 27 points right now to 23. I don't think it holds up over the span of a year. Tottenham is third with a goal difference of plus 12 versus plus 23. Chelsea right now is your 4. Manchester United is your 5. Liverpool all the way down at 13 points. They still have some work to do. And yesterday, a couple of things after the match and during the match and just all kinds of chaos. A lot of folks were looking at the Phil Foden goal, wondering if it should have counted. Then you have what went down after the match. Apparently, Manchester City said that their team bus was attacked after leaving Anfield. Object was thrown at the bus and cracked one of the windows. 2018, Liverpool was fined by UEFA after City's team bus was targeted as it arrived at Anfield for a Champions League quarterfinal between the two sides. But, so there are photos out there of an object thrown at the windows of the team bus and a window being cracked. So, that's what you're looking at when it comes to Arsenal and Manchester City. So Foden goal disallowed, Salah scores, Haaland kept in check, Foden kept in check for the most part as well. Team bus has objects thrown at it, and welcome to the heated rivalry of Manchester City and of Liverpool. So results from the weekend in the Prem: Liverpool winner, Chelsea winner, Arsenal beat Leeds. Manchester United, Newcastle, goalless draw. Southampton, West Ham, 1-1 draw. That might have saved Ralph Hasenhüttl from the occupational executioner for at least a little while, and David Moyes. Everton loses to Spurs. Fulham and Bournemouth, an exciting 2-2 draw. Wolves beat Nottingham Forest 1-0. Leicester and Crystal Palace, goalless. Once again, we're still staring at Brendan Rodgers. Sorry, Knicks, as to what's going on there. But remember, it is also a very, very quick turn this week with folks. So you're going to have matches Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So you're going to have 2 matches this week. So if you, like me, are in fantasy, get your lineup squared away. Tomorrow, Brighton hosting Forest, Crystal Palace hosting Wolves, and we'll go through the remainder of the week. 5 matches on Wednesday, 2 matches on Thursday. So 18 of the 20 teams playing this week. And then everybody lines back up on the weekend with 4 on Saturday, 5 on Sunday, Monday Night Football. So very, very busy week in the Prem. Richarlison, according to Antonio Conte, will not miss the World Cup. Conte says Richarlison will be available, suffered a calf injury in the 1-0 win over Everton. in tears as he left on crutches. Conte said the injury is not so serious. Quote, he's doing a scan, and we'll see how much time he needs to recover. It's not available for Manchester United. No, absolutely not. They will not miss the World Cup. So I was trying to keep it going from Maurizio Sarri to Antonio Conte. So will not miss the World Cup. I can confirm this, that the player will play in the World Cup. So that's what Antonio Conte says. We'll get into, let's see. We'll get into all your stuff, guys. Keep it coming. David with the Nottingham Forest joke. All right, so Luke Shaw says Eric Ten Hag is keeping everyone on their toes by dropping underperforming players, something the left back admits has not always been the case. He said, Shaw says, the good thing with this manager, this gaffer, is that if you're not playing well, then you won't play. In the past, that's not been the case, but I think it's a good thing about this manager. He's keeping everyone on their toes. Lower division stuff, Doncaster Rovers sacked manager Gary McSheffrey. Liverpool are sweating on further assessments on the calf injury of Diogo Jota in the victory over Manchester City, which could put his World Cup participation in doubt. Portugal International had to be stretchered off the pitch at Anfield. Closing stages of Sunday's showdown. Initial fears he may face a lengthy period on the sidelines. Jurgen Klopp says if Diogo stays down, it's not good. When I saw he goes down, there was not a lot of contact. You can see a little bit that somebody kicks his foot and maybe the muscle got overstretched. 96 minutes, that's not good for the muscle. Felt it immediately. Now we have to wait and see how bad it is. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Eric Dyer has revealed that afternoon naps are the secret behind Tottenham's fine start to the season. Started every match. Obviously, so many games until the break. It's incredible. So we need to take good care of ourselves physically, mentally, try to be ready for every game. I just try to sleep a lot. It's a great philosophy. Eat well, lots of water. Try to do everything in the right way. I love a nap. I nap every day, 45 minutes or something. I get 8 or 9 hours at night, 45 minutes in the afternoon. I do it straight after training. Makes me feel better for the rest of the day. I think it's good for me. I think some do it more than me. The South Americans, they love it. I don't have kids, so it's easy for me. People with kids, I've heard it's a little different at night. Yes, it is. I don't have kids. I have parents and pets. But for me, I can sleep whenever I want. Pep Guardiola confirmed coins were thrown towards him from the crowd during the defeat at Liverpool. Occurred during the second half after City had a Phil Foden goal disallowed. Would have given City the lead. They eventually lost on the Salah goal. Speaking about the matter, Guardiola said, next time we will do it better. It didn't get me. They try it again next year. So there you go. Jurgen Klopp did apologize. He was not aware of it. He apologized for it. He had no idea about it. It should never happen, never. And so CCTV footage will be used. If they find anybody, if they can identify folks, they'll be found guilty, punished, lifetime ban from Anfield, and a possible football banning order. So they also released the club. Bayern Munich has deferred their decision on Qatar sponsorship to 2023. Oliver Kahn told the club members at the AGM on Saturday, we will continue to discuss the issue intensively after the World Cup and find a solution for FC Bayern. Respected fans' concerns about the arrangement with Qatar Airways, even though many supporters say it damages the club's reputation because of alleged human rights abuses. Griezmann scored early in the second half. Atletico's 1-0 win over Athletic Bilbao, moving their opponents into third place in La Liga on Saturday. 19 points, 9 matches. Bilbao is now fourth on 17. Dusan Vlahovic scored for Juve, scoring a late goal to secure a 1-0 win against Torino. And Juve still continues to struggle. Anderlecht fans were convicted following the match against West Ham back on October 13th. 3 Anderlecht fans convicted following violent disorder. One gentleman, whose name I'm not going to mention because he's an idiot, convicted of assaulting an emergency worker and criminal damage, sentenced to 8 weeks imprisonment. Second idiot, convicted of going onto the pitch, fined 120 pounds, given a football banning order for 3 years. Third idiot, convicted of racially and or religiously aggravated harassment with intent to cause harassment, alarm, or distress, fined 200 pounds, banned from attending football matches for 3 years. Flares also thrown from the away section. Officers had to intervene to restore calm. 4 officers injured, including 2 who required hospital treatment. I'm sorry, this isn't enough. Let me get this straight. 1 idiot, 8 weeks in jail. convicted of assaulting an emergency worker and criminal damage. Second idiot goes onto the pitch invader, 120 pounds, football banning order for 3 years. Third idiot, convicted of racially and or religiously aggravated harassment, intent to cause harassment, alarm, or distress, fined 200 pounds, banned from attending football matches for 3 years. Idiot, idiot, idiot. Pull the trigger on this stupidity. Seriously. Nowhere close to being where it should be when it comes to the punishment. And people are going to continue to do it until you get really serious about this kind of stuff. The convictions, not enough. Not enough. Seriously, not enough. Great that you did something, but you did nowhere close to enough when it came to these 3 Anderlecht idiots from the game against West Ham 4 days ago. Don't care. Great you found them. Great you arrested them. 4 days later, that that as we're talking about it, they've gotten charged. No, you didn't do enough. Get better. Simply get better. Metropolitan Police told Sky they've contacted Ivan Toney following the racist abuse he received on Instagram. A spokesperson for the force said nobody should receive racist messages such as this. Sent a message to the victim asking him to contact police. This was after the victory over Brighton. Brentford came out with a statement, and he shared, Ivan Toney highlighted a message, and he posted a screenshot of the abuse sent on a DM on the gram after he scored a double. Toney said, I wasn't even going to post it, but I woke up angry. And Meta needs to crack down on this stuff too. I'm sorry. If as long as you continue to let idiots, and I guess we're in the idiots down here segment, as long as you continue to have idiots down here doing stuff like this until they're charged, criminally prosecuted, held accountable, and bumped off the damn platform. And, I don't know, it might take a little work to actually make sure that they continue to stay bumped off the platform, because you know that they'll try to repost themselves as another individual with a bunch of zeros and symbols that don't make any sense. Like idiot 007 28 39 042 would be the new handle, since the guy's original, or the person's original handle was blown up and destroyed and blocked. Do better. Do better Meta. Do better social media. And do better people. Don't be an idiot. Just because you buy a ticket doesn't mean you can walk in the door and yell things, break things, wander onto the field. Frankly, and the guy that stormed onto the field during the NFL game and is now charging because he's got like concussions or whatever. Sorry, that's assumed risk, pal. I don't know what you think you're going to get out of the deal, but no. The fact that you got body checked into next week by a fully equipmented football player, that's on you. You go onto the field, it's like, do I disturb you at work? That should be the first question that you have pop into your head. Is it cool for me as a football player to go find you at work and disturb you while you're working? Think about it that way. I know that you won't, and I'm speaking to idiots in general. But yeah, you think it's cool to either go run onto a field naked and get body checked, and then you go wandering onto a field and then you get body checked, and now you want to sue because you got clocked? Sorry, that's a you problem. And if there's any judge that has any credence of something like this, no, you are not to be taken seriously ever again as a judicious official. No, not happening. Other words out of the Premier League. Jose Sa, I didn't know this. Been playing with a broken wrist since the second game of the year. Got the injury in the goalless draw at home with Fulham. Has played through the pain barrier ever since. So, Jose Sa, you get bonus points, man. You've been keeping Wolves in a lot of matches as one of the top keepers in this league with a broken wrist. That's pretty strong, dude. Yeah, you get full credit. Full credit for me. I mean, absolutely full credit from me. Transfer rumor, gossip, and innuendo. Kylian Mbappe denies the PSG exit reports. Completely false. I'm very happy here. Never asked for my departure in January, he said after PSG's 1-0 win over Marseille in Ligue 1. Information that came out, I did not understand it. I'm not involved in this information, neither directly nor indirectly. Several French media reported last week striker was fed up with unfulfilled promises by PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi, wanted to leave the capital as soon as possible. Conte says he'd like to coach Christian Eriksen again as the Spurs prepare to face Manchester United on Wednesday. Eriksen worked with Conte at Inter before the cardiac arrest. Reportedly of interest to Spurs after his Brentford contract expired, but United quickly snapped him up for a 3-year deal. So Antonio Conte would love to be able to coach Christian Eriksen again. AC Milan want to sign Ruben Loftus-Cheek in January, according to Calcio Mercato, first-team regular for Graham Potter. Norwich have announced a pre-tax loss of more than £23 million during their last campaign in the Premier League. Club would have made a profit without a £26 million loss on transfers, the accounts revealed as they look to try to compete in the top flight after promotion from the Championship. Record total income of £141 million, by far the highest in the history of the club. Testament to the collaborative approach, but it's a pre-tax loss of £24 million. Victor Osimhen says he wants to play at Napoli. The agent of Osimhen revealed the player wants to stay at Napoli, despite being linked to Arsenal and Manchester United. Speaking to Radio Kiss Kiss, Napoli. The agent, Roberto Calenda, says, we haven't found out now Osimhen is the object of interest of many teams, but things are done in three: who sells, who buys, and the player. Victor wants to have a great year with Napoli. Has a long contract. Market's dynamic, but our will is to continue with Napoli and continue to do well. Frankie de Jong has hit back at critics who claim he's refusing a wage cut. Right now, the 25-year-old agreed to a £400,000 a week salary when he joined back in 2019, then penned a lucrative 2-year extension during Bartomeu's spell in charge. And so now de Jong forced to take a wage reduction in each of his first 3 seasons, meaning they're now required to pay the deferred wages to the player on top of the existing salary. He's going to earn £16.8 million this year, $17 million worth of deferred payments, $21 million next year. There have been many lies and falsehoods about my salary, he told TV Nos via Mundo Deportivo. In each of the first 3 years I played here, I cut my salary. Eventually the money comes back and it comes on top of my normal salary, so it looks bigger. I think a lot of people don't understand this, but the figures the media is spreading are false. Brendan Rodgers stormed out of a press conference after blasting a disgraceful and disrespectful question, according to the 3-letter newspaper. After the goalless draw with Crystal Palace, gathered with reporters to take questions regarding Thursday's match with Leeds. One reporter's line of questioning, rumors and speculation circulating on fan forums and websites suggested that Rodgers' contract means, in effect, he's too expensive for Leicester to sack. And what was put to him, Rodgers said, I've read on the news what I'm supposed to be on, and I know for sure that's a total fabrication. Nowhere near. Actually think it's a disrespectful question, very disrespectful. Never asked you how much money you are on or whether there's any blockage in your role from your owners. Don't think you need to worry about my wages. If there's a stumbling block in anything, you need to ask the owners that. It's a disgraceful question before ending the interview. So obviously things are still heated with Brendan Rodgers and his time, sorry, Knicks, at Leicester. Going through the other papers, Daily Star, Manchester United joined the race for Rafael Leao. 18 months left on his current contract at the San Siro and has rejected his club's offer for a new 5-year deal amid interest from Chelsea. Also on the board, avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter paper, Daily Mirror, Barcelona president Joan Laporta stormed the referee's dressing room following his side's defeat to Real Madrid 3-1 in the first Clásico of the season. Luis Figo admitted he talked a lot to Liverpool and was keen to join the club in 2005, only for the club to miss out to Inter Milan. Paulo Dybala suffered a serious injury in Roma's 2-1 home win over Lecce, may miss the World Cup, according to Jose Mourinho and The Guardian. Daily Record, Huddersfield. That's rugby. So that's a quick run of the papers. Let's see if we can get into the gossip columns. And BBC is referring to this as gossip, and so that's why I go and refer to it as gossip. Newcastle United has ruled out signing Cristiano Ronaldo because of his age. That's at 90 minutes. Alexander Isak set to be out until after the World Cup following a setback in recovery from his thigh injury. Manchester City would face no financial barriers in signing Kylian Mbappe, who wants to leave PSG despite signing a new contract in the summer. That's from Marca. Real Madrid not planning to make another move for Mbappe after he chose to stay at PSG. England manager Gareth Southgate could collect a £4 million bonus if he guides the Three Lions to World Cup glory in Qatar. Spurs want to start talks over a new deal with Harry Kane, but he's holding off from doing so with the future of Spurs manager Antonio Conte, whose contract expires at the end of the year. One of the factors he's waiting on. That's from Football Insider. Juve and Bonucci have been linked with a move to Spurs after asking to be sold in the January window. Chelsea always planning to offer England right back Reece James and Mason Mount long-term deals with the club even before it was sold to Todd Boehly and Boehly Clearlake. Liverpool and Netherlands defender Virgil van Dijk says Sadio Mane's departure to Bayern is not to blame for their poor start in the Premier League season. Dutch defender Pascal Struijk says he wants to sign a new deal with Leeds. That's from Voetbalzone. Former Liverpool transfer chief Michael Edwards, who's been linked with Chelsea, wants time to consider his options. Bosnia-Herzegovina midfielder Miralem Pjanic claims Barcelona manager Xavi wanted him to stay at the club and that it was the 32-year-old's own decision to leave the new camp for Emirati side Sharjah in the summer transfer window, and that's courtesy of our friends at BN. So that is your look at all of the news and the gossip and the rumors that are going on with everything on the board. Let's see. Mopping up what else is here. Why is Nottingham Forest's logo a jellyfish? Are they that spineless? David, what they really need is a sponsor, period. And they're holding out for the right one. I mean, we've seen in situations in the past where Norwich had the online betting folks at the beginning of last season. Then when they realized kind of some of the other things that they did, they ended that sponsorship, waited for the right one. And I think it ended up costing them, £6 million when they finally got, I want to say it was Lotus Automotive to be on the front of the jersey. But that's how much it cost them in the gap time. Nottingham Forest says they're waiting for the right sponsorship. And, the more that you wait, the less money you're going to get in a season where the joke is that there may be more transfers for Nottingham Forest than points. So we'll keep an eye on that. Colonel, stop half the teams in the playoffs is silly. Top third is more meaningful. Two-legged ties keeps playoffs revenue. Counter argument, fewer playoff spots reduces interest on decision day. That's true. That is true about your counter argument. I know that top half of the teams in playoffs is silly. We see it in other sports. But if you want to do, I think that, and once again, you have to consider, Colonel, TV revenue and all of those other things that are in play about it. And that's why you would have to go as deep as 8, I think, because you're going to have networks that want to broadcast a lot of things, and they want to have a lot of windows put for themselves. And as a result, it's going to be more than 4 teams. And so right now, 7. And we said the same thing about Major League Baseball with a wild card, and then they added the second wild card. You just kind of get numb to it after a while, frankly. A lot of other sports have 8. NBA has more than 8. NBA, if you really want to complain at somebody, complain at the NBA for doing the double wild card round where it's 1 and in and you advance and then you get into the final 8 and then you go from there. You want somebody to be upset about the NBA, Colonel. Theirs is the one that's wilder than anybody else's, where you're looking at like team 10, 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9. It's almost like the relegation playoff in the Bundesliga, where the second team that could be automatically promoted has to play the team that finishes just outside the relegation zone in a relegation playoff, and then the team that's almost relegated from the Bundesliga could go down if they lose. That's what the NBA looks like to me. The NBA looks like the Bundesliga playoff to me. I don't have a problem with 8. That's just kind of where it is. But 8's a decent round number, and I still think you can do two-legged ties Wednesday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, and you'd be okay. But, yeah, if you want somebody to really kvetch at for their wacky playoff structure, NBA. Shiva, finding out Luis is paid more than Joseph is crazy. Well, and I mean, you look at international transfers, and remember, when Joseph came in, Joseph was a find. And then what you're doing at that point is you're paying him incrementally from that baseline. Luis had been established in Ligue 1 at Lille, And we saw what he was able to do with Lille chasing after a Liga title. And so international values obviously are what they are. So with Luis, it was value in Europe crossing over to Major League Soccer. With Joseph, it was small value to begin with and then incremental values with his work that he was able to accomplish. And so it's like you're looking at it from two different directions. It's like two different axes here. Luis coming over with what he was established on the international theater, and then Joseph from his find by Atlanta United and Tata Martino working his way up into a market value. And then once again, you're having to do things in a cap. And so you can do things with DPs that are slightly different than other folks. But I think you're looking at it, it's two different axes. And I think that's why it might look a little bit more crazy than the average bear. All right, let's get into stuff to watch today since we have things to watch today. We talked about the matchups tonight in the Major League Soccer, and that will be on once again later tonight. Today, BN has the Super League, Turkish Super League at 1. Remember, FS1 has both of your games for Major League Soccer. FS2 has the first half. Once we stop talking here, you can go watch USA and Morocco in the U17 Women's World Cup. That's on FS2. Simulcast of the Super League on BN and Espanol. ESPN Deportes has La Liga at 3, Villarreal Osasuna. Fox Deportes has your simulcast of MLS. ACC Extra College Men at 7, B1G College Men at 7. ESPN Plus, League One, Charlton Athletic and Portsmouth at 3 or 2:55. La Liga at 2:50. Villarreal Osasuna, Segunda División, Sporting Gijon, Ibar at 2:50. College Men and Women, one game at 7 and one game at 6. Busy day for Paramount Plus. Doubleheader for Serie A, Sampdoria Roma 12:30, Lecce Fiorentina 2:45. Busy day in the Primera División in Argentina. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3:30, and a doubleheader at 8:30. The Ballon d'Or presentation is at 2 o'clock, and as Ricky said, it better be Benzema. Brasileiros at 7 with Bragantino and Santos. And so that is your day of viewing. So let's get into the juice boxes before we go, and anything else on your mind before we get out of here and come back on a Tuesday. And once again, all the programming that we have across the board will be here all week long. And so we'll be here live in the mornings, and we'll have all the tape content rolling its way through in your afternoons. Roma on the road, minus 141 at Sampdoria. Once again, reminder, that's at 12:30. Also, checking Turkish Super League. Sivasspor is a favorite at minus 105. Fenerbahce is a favorite on the road at minus 139. Both of those are at 1 o'clock. Gimnasia at 2 o'clock is an underdog at home as Argentinos Juniors come to town at a plus 131. Women's Championship is at 2 o'clock. Let's see. Serie A, Lecce, Fiorentina. Fiorentina on the road is a plus 104. We mentioned the League One match at 3. The Juice Boxers threw a blanket over them all. It's a margin of error, pretty much at plus 166. Villarreal at home, minus 135 as Osasuna comes to town. Vélez Sarsfield is a home favorite at a plus 127 against Estudiantes. Copa Libertadores women is at 4. Universidad de Chile, big favorite. America de Cali, huge favorite at a minus 2,500. Liga MX Femenil is at 445 with a doubleheader. Tigres at a minus 556 on the road at León. Club America at a minus 270 at home hosting Pumas. Toluca and Puebla is at 6 in Liga MX Femenil. Toluca is a minus 217 as Puebla comes to town. Copa Libertadores kicks back in at 6:15. Palmeiras minus 11 at Independiente del Valle. And Saturday morning is a minus 189 at Alianza Lima. Went through the numbers for Major League Soccer. 8 o'clock, Club Tijuana minus 500 hosting at Necaxa. Atletico Tucumán minus 109 at home against Unión de Santa Fe. And San Lorenzo is a road favorite at a plus 163 hosting Sarmiento Junín. Liga MX Femenil doubleheader also at 10 with Juarez a home favorite against Querétaro to minus 132. Monterrey's a home favorite at minus 104 as Chivas comes to town. So that's what we're looking at from those. Those are your juice boxes on the day, your viewing habits of the day. Remember, 7 and 9:30 is when you're 7:20 and 9:38. Sorry, when you have your matches for Major League Soccer. Anything else on your mind, once again, post it as always, and we will go over it later today, or we will go over it tomorrow when we come back here at 9:05, and we'll do it all over again. We'll talk about the matches that happened all day today, and we'll talk about all the stuff. That's the official term. And then we'll have all of the programming, as we say, across the board all week long. And so, once again, thanks to all of you for hanging out with all of us and being a part of SDH as you have all of the time. We'll be back at it again on Tuesday, and we'll have yet another week rolling here when it comes to the world of soccer. Since that is the end of the show, mucha platial, and that means I get to do this. We'll see you tomorrow.